want me to breathe. My phone kept vibrating on the nightstand, and when I finally picked it up, there was no message, only a photo. It was my bedroom, taken from the corner. The lights were off, but I could see my silhouette lying in bed. The problem was, I was standing up, holding the phone. Marcus had never been afraid of ghost stories. To him, they were just small-town tales meant to keep kids from sneaking out at night. So when his friend Oliver dared him to spend one night inside the abandoned Brookside Motel, Marcus didn't hesitate. The motel had been closed for 15 years after a series of disappearances that were never solved. The locals claimed that the last room on the second floor, room 12, was cursed. Guests who stayed there didn't check out. They vanished. No bodies, no evidence, just gone. Marcus thought it was perfect for a YouTube video. A 24 hours in a haunted motel type of thing. Before heading out, he bought a flashlight, extra phone batteries, and snacks. He ignored the warnings from a gas station clerk on the way. "Don't go past the lobby," the old man muttered, sliding change across the counter. "And whatever you do, don't take any pictures in there." Marcus laughed it off, thinking it was just a creepy customer service tactic. By the time he arrived, the sun had dipped below the trees, painting the sky in dark purples and oranges. The motel stood at the edge of the highway, sagging under years of neglect. The neon sign was nothing more than a rusted frame, the letters Brookside barely visible under layers of grime. Inside, the air was stale, thick with mildew and dust. The floor was littered with damp newspapers, their headlines frozen in time, most from 2009, the year the place shut down. A cracked reception bell sat on the counter, and for some reason he couldn't explain, Marcus pressed it. The metallic ring echoed far too long, bouncing down the hallway like something was listening. He found room 12 at the very end of a narrow corridor. The door was swollen for moisture, and it took 2 hard shoves with his shoulder to get it open. The room was cleaner than he expected. The bed was neatly made, sheets still white. The smell of stale cigarette smoke hung in the air, but it wasn't overpowering, almost fresh, like someone had been there recently. Marcus set up his sleeping bag on the floor, switched on his camera, and began recording. At 10:13 p.m., the first strange thing happened. The bathroom light flickered on by itself. When he checked the switch, it was stiff with dust, as if it hadn't been moved in years. He brushed it off as bad wiring. But at 11:42 p.m., the door handle to the hallway rattled, slow and deliberate. He called out, "Oliver, that you?" Silence. At 12:04 m.e., his phone buzzed. A new photo had appeared in his gallery. It showed the very room he was in, taken from a corner near the window. The bed was visible, and so was he lying in it. But he wasn't in bed. He was sitting on the chair across the room. His chest tightened. He locked his phone, checked the corners of the room, nothing. The door was locked. Then came the sound, breathing. Slow, heavy breathing, coming from under the bed. Marcus crouched, lifted the blanket, and saw nothing but darkness. Then, 2 pale hands slid into view, gripping the floorboards. He stumbled back, heart pounding, as a figure began to crawl out. Its movements were jerky, too fast, and its limbs bent in ways they shouldn't. A cracked porcelain mask covered its face, painted with a smile that stretched unnaturally wide. Marcus scrambled for the door, but it slammed shut before he could reach it. His phone buzzed again. Another photo taken inches from his face. The figure stood now, towering over him. Its head tilted, the mask's painted smile frozen, but Marcus felt something watching from behind it, something cold and hateful. It leaned closer, whispering in a voice that was both male and female, old and young. "You're already in the picture." His phone buzzed again. The last image showed the room empty. No Marcus. When Oliver came to check on him the next morning, the room looked untouched. The bed was still made, the air still heavy with cigarette smoke. On the table sat Marcus's phone and camera. The final footage showed Marcus staring into the lens, whispering, "Don't look at the pictures." Oliver took the phone, intending to call the police, but when he opened the gallery, the first photo was of him, standing in the doorway. The police found no trace of Marcus. The case was filed as another Brookside disappearance. The motel was condemned shortly after, but locals say Room 12's door still rattles on stormy nights, waiting for someone to open it again. It was 3:17 a.m. when I woke up to the sound of someone tapping on my bedroom window. I live on the 3rd floor. Thinking it was a branch, I pulled back the curtain only to see a man's face pressed against the glass, smiling. But it wasn't the smile that froze me. It was the fact that his lips weren't moving, yet I could hear his voice inside my head. Daniel lived in a quiet suburban apartment complex, the kind of place where nothing ever happened. His unit was on the top floor, with a small balcony and a window overlooking the courtyard. He liked it for one simple reason: it felt safe. No one could just walk up to his window. On a Thursday night, Daniel stayed up late editing photos on his laptop. The hum of his desk fan mixed with the soft tapping of rain outside. Around midnight, the rain stopped, leaving the night eerily still. By 3 a.m., Daniel had dozed off at his desk. That's when he heard it tap, tap, tap. 3 sharp knocks, evenly spaced, coming from his window. Half asleep, he assumed it was the wind, or maybe a branch swaying against the glass. But when he pulled the curtain back, his heart stopped. A man's face was pressed against the glass. Pale skin stretched tight over sharp cheekbones, eyes wide and unblinking. His smile was too large, showing every tooth. But the strangest part? His mouth never moved, yet Daniel heard a whisper inside his mind. "Let me in, Daniel." Daniel stumbled back, adrenaline flooding his chest. He grabbed his phone, but the signal bar flickered between 1 bar and none. He turned back to the window. The man was gone. Trying to shake it off as a half-awake hallucination, Daniel crawled into bed, but sleep never came. At 3:34 a.m., the tapping started again, louder this time. When he dared to peek through the blinds, there was no one there. Instead, he noticed something chilling wet handprints, large and smudged, trailing from the window across the glass balcony door. Daniel locked the balcony door, even though it had always been locked. He double-checked every lock in the apartment, then sat on the couch, clutching a kitchen knife. The silence stretched for hours, until the faint light of dawn filtered through the blinds. Exhausted, he fell asleep. The next night, Daniel told himself it had been a dream. He made coffee, watched a few shows, and kept his curtains closed. But at exactly 3:17 a.m., the tapping returned, this time from his balcony door. He crept forward and pulled the curtain just enough to see outside. The man was standing there, facing away, his back rigid. Slowly, his head rotated, not his body, just his head, until his face was pressed against the glass again. Inside Daniel's head came the same whisper, louder now. "Let me in. I'm cold." Daniel stumbled backward, knocking over a lamp. The lights flickered, and for a split second, the man wasn't outside. He was standing in the corner of Daniel's living room. When the light steadied, the corner was empty. Daniel called the police. 2 officers arrived within minutes, searched the balcony, and found no footprints, no signs of forced entry. 1 officer, an older man, lingered by the window longer than the other. Finally, he turned to Daniel and said quietly, "Keep your curtains shut after midnight." When Daniel asked why, the officer didn't answer, just left with a grim look. Over the next week, Daniel tried to avoid being home at night. He worked late, stayed with friends, anything to escape that 3 a.m. tapping. But on Saturday, he forgot to check the time. At 3:15 a.m., while brushing his teeth, the tapping began again, only now it was coming from inside the bathroom mirror. Daniel froze, toothbrush in hand, staring at his reflection. Behind him, the man's pale face grinned from the corner of the room. The whisper returned, vibrating through Daniel's skull. "You're not looking at me. Look." Against every instinct, Daniel turned around. The bathroom was empty. But when he looked back into the mirror, the man was inches behind him, hand reaching forward. The lights went out. Daniel woke up on his couch in the morning, his front door wide open. The police said his neighbors heard nothing unusual, though one woman in the building swore she saw a pale man standing on Daniel's balcony at 4 a.m., staring into the sunrise. That night, Daniel moved out. He never went back to the apartment, never set foot in that neighborhood again, but he can't escape the time. Every night, no matter where he is, hotel room, friend's house, his new apartment, he wakes at exactly 3:17 a.m. to the sound of tapping. And sometimes when he's too scared to open his eyes, he still hears the whisper, "Let me in, Daniel, just once." The house was silent, too silent. But then I heard it, faint whispering coming from the attic. I hadn't been up there in years, and the door was supposed to be locked tight. When I finally forced it open, what I saw inside wasn't human. Ella had always been curious about the old house she inherited from her grandmother. Nestled at the edge of Maplewood, it was the kind of place kids told ghost stories about, with creaky floors and peeling wallpaper. The attic door on the second floor was always locked, a heavy iron bolt holding it shut. Her grandmother never explained why, only saying, "Some doors are better left closed." For years, Ella respected the warning. But when she moved in alone after college, the silence in the house began to weigh on her. At night, strange sounds echoed through the walls, soft thumps, whispered voices, even faint sobbing. One stormy evening, curiosity got the better of her. She found an old key taped under the kitchen drawer, the only key to the attic door. With trembling hands, she climbed the narrow stairs and slid the bolt aside. The door creaked open, revealing a thick layer of dust and darkness. Ella shone her flashlight inside. The attic was small, filled with forgotten furniture covered in white sheets and cobwebs that glistened like crystals. But then, she noticed the floorboards near the back scratched, as if someone had been trying to claw their way out. Suddenly, the whispering began again, louder this time. It wasn't words, just soft hissing sounds that seemed to come from beneath the floor. Ella's heart hammered as she dropped her flashlight. It rolled toward a loose floorboard, which suddenly shifted, revealing a narrow hole descending into blackness. She peered inside, but it was too dark to see the bottom. From the depths, a cold breath rose up, smelling of earth and decay. Days passed, and Ella couldn't stop thinking about the attic. She began to feel watched, especially at night. The whispers returned, echoing just beyond hearing, drawing her back to the hidden hole. One night, she gathered a rope and climbed into the hole. It led to a small hidden cellar beneath the house, cold, damp, and filled with old relics and strange symbols painted on the walls. In the center lay a broken porcelain doll, its eyes missing, cracked smile frozen in a haunting grin. As Ella picked it up, the whispers grew urgent. Suddenly, she heard footsteps approaching. Spinning around, she saw a shadowy figure emerging from the darkness. A child, pale and translucent, eyes hollow. The child whispered, "Help me." Ella wanted to run, but felt rooted to the spot. The child reached out, touching her arm. The coldness spread through her veins, and she felt her own breath slow. Then, a voice boomed from above, shaking the walls. "Leave this place?" The figure vanished, and the cellar door slammed shut. Ella scrambled up the hole, locking the floorboard behind her. The next morning, Ella found a note slipped under her bedroom door. "You opened the door. Now it's your turn." Terrified, she called a local historian who told her the house had belonged to a family rumored to practice dark rituals. The attic was once used to imprison a child accused of witchcraft, sealed away to protect the town. Ella realized the whispers were the child's desperate plea for release or revenge. That night, the whispers turned into screams. Shadows danced on the walls, and the temperature dropped so low, her breath fogged. She fled the house, leaving everything behind. To this day, the house remains abandoned, its attic door firmly locked. But neighbors say on stormy nights, you can still hear faint whispers, carried on the wind calling, waiting.